Hey guys, so today's book review is on Insurgent by Veronica Roth, and I'm a bit late reading this, but you know, I was busy. So I figured I'd get around to reviewing it because I really liked it, and I think I have some things to say that maybe other people haven't said in reviews so far. Insurgent was published in the United States on May 1st, 2012 by Harper Teen. Insurgent is the sequel to Divergent, which was published a year before, and I highly suggest that if you have not read Divergent, turn this video off now, please, because there will be Divergent spoilers, because that is the nature of reviewing a sequel. So, go away now, if you haven't. Good, thank you. Insurgent picks up right where Divergent left off. Triss's family has been reduced to 2, she's just had to kill one of her best friends, and all of this trauma is really only the beginning of everything that is to come in post-apocalyptic Chicago. Insurgent is the second book in the Divergent trilogy, and I had heard that it suffers from that second book syndrome, where nothing really happens, it's not as good as the first one, and it doesn't have the excitement of the last one, but I would disagree. Is it better than Divergent? Probably not, but it can definitely stand alongside Divergent as a good companion book, or not companion, as a good sequel, and a good leading up to the final book. The plotline was pretty much what I had expected. It is the survivors scoping out the city, finding who their allies are, who their enemies are, and it has that sort of Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows roaming through the forest camping scene that a lot of people don't like, but I quite like because I am most definitely a character reader much more than a plot-driven reader. The most important part of this book were the characters and how they develop and how they are adapting to what has happened in Divergent, and I think the characters were written so beautifully. Divergent was this absolute whirlwind of action because of the fact that it took place in the Dauntless compound, and you wouldn't expect anything less. Insurgent, they leave that compound, they're exploring the city. In between the city there's a lot of emptiness, a lot of destruction, a lot of sadness and guilt and grief, and you couldn't have that same upbeat plot as you could with Divergent. You could call it the calm before the storm, I guess. The most important thing about Insurgent to me was the picking and choosing of alliances, not only externally, but also figuring out Triss and Four and who they are and what parts of themselves they were going to give into and things like that. I think that's what differentiates it from different dystopian novels, because it doesn't feel the need to live up to this standard, and it is its own book and it's character driven, which a lot of dystopian novels these days kind of aren't, I think. The characters were as fantastic as they were in Divergent. They grow, they change, they have to deal with all these different situations and what the war has left them with thus far, and a lot of people had problems with the fact that Roth brought in some new characters and then killed them off, but I find that really necessary. That's ordinary in a book like this. It's war, people die off, characters are introduced, and you start to learn about them and they're killed off. I don't think that's necessarily an issue. It's just kind of how the story played out. Now, what worked? I think the number one thing that worked for me in this book was Triss's guilt and her grief. It was so unadulterated and so constant, and a lot of people think that she got whiny or she was doing the she had a saving people complex, and I think that that's totally natural and that is a human reaction. And she just felt real to me. The grief and depression clouded her judgment so much that she lost sight of what is important, and that is keeping herself safe and being true to herself and not letting other things get in the way of that. And I think that's very human. In addition, I like the pacing, the character reactions. Four is as hot as ever, let me just say it. And also there was a very Serenity plot twist in this. If you've seen Serenity, the film after the Firefly series by Joss Whedon, you'll know what I'm talking about. Very Serenity, I liked it a lot. Now on to what didn't work. There was this point in the story where they get shot and injected with more of the simulation serum from the previous book, and that kind of threw off the story for me. I wasn't sure if it was kind of an easy plot device to have people suddenly waking up in simulation. I mean, it made it interesting, but at the same time it kind of seemed like a tool. It was an easy tool to use, just like, oh, all of a sudden these people are in simulation, how convenient. But that's part of the story, and I can't say I disliked it, it just seemed easy. I also didn't like one of the characters called Jack Kang. He had a rather large role, and I don't feel like his character was fleshed out enough to have a large role. I don't know, that was just me. Overall though, I give Insurgent 4 out of 5 stars, a fantastic sequel. I'm excited for the third one, very excited. It's become one of those books that I can't stop rereading, and I don't want to read other books because I just want to reread Insurgent, but hopefully I'll be able to move on pretty soon into some of the other fantastic books I have on hand. And with that, let me know what you guys think in the comments, if you like the book, if you're excited for the next one, anything like that. And yeah, with that, I'm going to head off. See you guys next time.